And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to James Langford joining us from the Washington Examiner. Mr. Langford, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, we take a look at the housing market, and here in the Treasure Valley, like a lot of places across the country, it continues to boom in Idaho and other states where people are coming to from California and others. You take a look at the housing market, your thoughts on the summer of sales, the summer of the Fed.
Yes, definitely. One of the things you've seen in the housing market is nationwide, the growth had started to slow down a little bit last year as interest rates were going up. The Fed had 4 interest rate increases last year, and eventually those filter out to, affect the longer-term treasury note that mortgage interest rates are traditionally based on. You start to see them go up, and you start to see when that has something a bit of a slowdown. Or I shouldn't say slowdown, it was still growing, it just wasn't growing as much. But now that the Fed has paused on interest rates, you're seeing something entirely different, which is growth starting to pick back up. And that's good news for people who are, looking to buy houses and people who are looking to maybe refinance loans that they had taken out earlier with higher interest rates because they might get a little bit better interest rate now.
And how do you see that playing out?
So one of the things that appears quite likely is that, over the summer, over the next couple of months, you'll see banks start to issue more refinancing loans and start to see people, take out more first-time loans to buy a house, which is good news is really good news for the housing market, really nationwide, and especially for millennials who have, been kind of disadvantaged ever since the financial crisis 10 years ago, and have kind of struggled to get to to make the same milestones that their parents had made before them. So this gives them a little bit of an advantage, which is, certainly beneficial for people looking to make those first steps into the traditional milestones of adulthood, like home ownership and building retirement savings, et cetera.
Sure. And when you take a look at the millennials, how disadvantaged are they?
It's interesting. Like many of them have not been able to put the same kind of money into savings. Some of them have not been able to find, traditional full-time salary jobs. They've relied on the so-called gig economy with kind of contract positions or freelancing positions that don't offer the same, health benefits, the same retirement savings or sick leave. So they haven't had the same financial advantages that, in some cases, that earlier generations had. So this definitely gives them a chance to kind of make up.
Sure. Finally, what could get in the way of another housing boom?
Well, obviously, if the economy starts growing fast enough, the Fed would return to interest rate increases, and that would put millennials right back where they were. It would put, the economy right back where they were. So that is one risk. There have been traditional concerns about global growth slowing, and obviously, if that happens enough, then it would start to affect employment in the U.S. It would start to affect employers who are looking to hire more people, and they would not be making the same, financial commitments. So that would play into the situation as well. You have a number of concerns like the White House's trade policy. Business leaders have been concerned that will, in fact, curb economic growth because prices for supplies will go up. There remains a large degree of uncertainty about how Britain's departure from the European Union is going to affect the European markets for U.S. companies. So those are all risks that are on the horizon that could kind of slow things down. And if any of those things happened and started to affect growth in the U.S., that would be bad news for the economy and potentially for the housing market, which has been the traditional, not only driver of the U.S. economy, but the main source of wealth for people living in the U.S.
Well, Mr. Langford, we appreciate that. We'll have folks check you out in the Washington Examiner. You take care.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good morning.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And by the way, we apologize for Mr. Langford's phone, but that is good news that it looks like the housing bubble will continue. Coming up, we'll take a look at honoring a 19-year-old woman. Brianna Martinez cared about the community, and people are calling her death a tragedy. Big ups to the law enforcement in Meridian and Boise for apprehending those suspects, apparently 3 of them. They were arrested in a Meridian home. You heard Maggie O'Mara talk about that. We'll get to that coming up. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And as we're looking around, getting ready to start the day, Bernie Sanders was on Fox News last night. We'll share that with you coming up, but I think I'd like to start with the burning, the fire, the tragedy at Notre Dame, the real Notre Dame, and nothing against the Notre Dame at South Bend, Indiana, with Mayor Pete and everything else, but Notre Dame. Over 850 years, you've got this cathedral there. You have people that are inspired, and this is Holy Week, the week that we remember Christ's last on this earth. And this program, we're not a religious show, but we are a faith-based show. We proudly talk about that. We have many churches throughout the Treasure Valley will have their Easter services. Our brothers and sisters in the Eastern Orthodox will have it a little later. But this is, think about this, the symbolism of the last week of Christ on the earth over 2,000 years ago. And you have Notre Dame. You don't have to be a member of the Catholic Church to understand its significance and to understand the symbolism of it. Now, people are speculating what caused the fire. You have, you don't have the modern equipment that you have in buildings to fight these fires. And the entire world yesterday was watching this. And I think what really got me as I was watching some of the news last night when they said it's a symbol of France. No, it's a tribute to God. It's a tribute to Christ. It's a tribute to the faith. Right? You have the crown of thorns worn by Jesus in there. And if you've seen some of the pictures, here you have a cross untouched by the flames. Here you have a heroic priest that 4 years ago was one of the first on the scenes to comfort victims of the Paris terrorism attacks. He and others rushing into that cathedral to try and save those relics. To try and save those relics of Christianity. And thankfully, they were saved. Thankfully, they're going to rebuild. And everybody's saying, hey, we're going to rebuild. You just don't put back something that's been there for almost 900 years. It is nice that people are going to donate money and it's going to be new, but that's why it's history, right? Because it's, these are a value of historic significance. And even though a lot of people say, well, Kevin Miller, at 580-5436-580-KIDO, we're going to rebuild and it's a symbol of France, it's more than one country. But, as tragedy happens, as we've seen at September 11th here, as we've seen in Boise here, people, ordinary people make a difference. And thank goodness that during Holy Week, everybody is safe at the Notre Dame Cathedral. Here you have it. He saved the Blessed Sacrament, and as emergency services formed a human chain to pull historic relics from the burning structure, which was finally extinguished after 8 hours. In a glimmer of hope, Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo said cops and rescuers linked up to save some of the artworks and religious relics, including the crown and tunic of St. Louis, just days before Easter. She added, the crown of thorns, the tunic of St. Louis, and several other major works are now in a safe place. Because you had people not afraid. They knew that God was with them. And when you see these horrific pictures, it is a tragedy. But through that tragedy, we have triumph, where people rush together to make a difference. And yes, it's tough. It's tough when we have people in our world that lose their homes because of fire, right? So if you'd like to sound off on that, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. In other news, we had Bernie Sanders appearing before Fox. It's amazing that all these town halls with the Democratic folks going back and forth and everything else, we have Bernie Sanders and people that are not allowed to debate on the Fox News channel. They're doing the town halls. Here's the best of Bernie.
You still have a situation where in states all over this country, and it's hard for me to believe this, but it's true, you got people still working for $7.50, $8 an hour because Trump and Republicans refuse to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. So to answer your question, the economy today is good, thank God, but you got tens of millions of workers still struggling to put food on the table. Democratic socialism, to me, is creating a government and an economy and a society which works for all rather than just the top 1%. It means ending the absurd inequalities that exist today. Hey, President Trump, my wife and I just released 10 years. Please do the same. Let the American people know how much money I'm making. I support a Muslim member of Congress not to be attacked every single day in outrageous racist remarks.
Right, but it's okay for that Muslim member of Congress to say something happened about something, that being September 11th. So we'll get back to the best of Bernie. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
So once you start and say, you committed a crime, you can't vote. Or you did this, you can't vote. You did that, you can't vote. I don't like that. Every American 18 of age of older who's a citizen in this country has the right to vote.
Sure, but there have to be consequences for your actions, correct? There have to be consequences for your actions when we're thinking about this. If you break the law, you don't have the same rights as people that obey the law. And yet here you have Bernie Sanders doing the best of Bernie. Coming up next, we will examine the arrest and the shooting and the death involved in that shooting that happened over the weekend of the Boise Bench. How dangerous is the Treasure Valley becoming? We'd love to get your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Rose stained glass window is irreplaceable. If this was arson, this is going to be bad. If this was arson of any foreign kind of in any foreign entity, anybody with a grudge, I think if, and this is a huge if, it might have just been started by a cigarette, we don't know. But if this was started by Islamists, I don't think you'll find out about it. Because I think it would set the entire country on fire. They've had killings, they've had mass shootings, they've had people running people down in the streets. The tension is very high. You take away, this would be like us burning, our White House? I mean, what is iconic like this?
World Trade Centers?
Yeah, like the World Trade Center. This is their World Trade Center moment. And if this was done by terrorists, I think that they will keep it quiet because I just don't think Macron and France wants that internal fight. If this was done by somebody who is disgruntled with the government, etc., like the Yellow Vests, they did say this weekend that the police can put bullets in their guns and they can shoot to kill the Yellow Vests. They said that this weekend. So maybe it's that. I don't know. But this is a really big deal. The world has lost a major piece of history today.
There we have it from our own Glenn Beck. You can catch him weekdays 9 to 12. Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. You have French President Macron saying this.
The facade and the two main towers did not crumble. So tonight, of course, I would like to say or express my thoughts to Catholics in France and the entire world, especially in this Holy Week. And I know what they feel, and I'm with them.
It was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. That is beyond countries. That's beyond anything. That's a part of our growing up. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our lives. That's a truly great cathedral.
There we have it, the President of the United States, the President of France. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Cardinal Dolan on the Notre Dame Cathedral.
It would be difficult, I presume second maybe to St. Peter's Basilica, to think of a church that more represents love and God's presence among us and the ability of a church to lift our minds and hearts back to the Lord than Notre Dame Cathedral.
There we have it. Your thoughts, 580-5436. 580-KIDO about what Glenn Beck said, speculating that if it were a foreign national, if it were the Islamist, it would be covered up because the world couldn't handle the truth. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Glenn Beck, you can catch him weekdays 9 to 12. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You have French President Macron saying this.
The facade and the two main towers did not crumble. So tonight, of course, I would like to say or express my thoughts to Catholics in France and the entire world, especially in this Holy Week. And I know what they feel, and I'm with them.
It was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. That is beyond countries, that's beyond anything. That's a part of our growing up. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our lives. That's a truly great cathedral.
There we have it, the President of the United States, the President of France. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Cardinal Dolan on the Notre Dame Cathedral.
It would be difficult, I presume second maybe to St. Peter's Basilica, to think of a church that more represents love and God's presence among us and the ability of a church to lift our minds and hearts back to the Lord than Notre Dame Cathedral.
There we have it. Your thoughts, 580-5436. 580-KIDO about what Glenn Beck said, speculating that if it were a foreign national, if it were the Islamist, it would be covered up because the world couldn't handle the truth. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. From our own Glenn Beck, you can catch him weekdays 9 to 12. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You have French President Macron saying this.
The facade and the two main towers did not crumble. So tonight, of course, I would like to say or express my thoughts to Catholics in France and the entire world, especially in this Holy Week. And I know what they feel, and I'm with them.
It was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. That is beyond countries, that's beyond anything. That's a part of our growing up. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our lives. That's a truly great cathedral.
There we have it, the President of the United States, the President of France. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Cardinal Dolan on the Notre Dame Cathedral.
It would be difficult, I presume second maybe to St. Peter's Basilica, to think of a church that more represents love and God's presence among us and the ability of a church to lift our minds and hearts back to the Lord than Notre Dame Cathedral.
There we have it. Your thoughts, 580-5436. 580-KIDO about what Glenn Beck said, speculating that if it were a foreign national, if it were the Islamist, it would be covered up because the world couldn't handle the truth. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. From our own Glenn Beck, you can catch him weekdays 9 to 12. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You have French President Macron saying this.
The facade and the two main towers did not crumble. So tonight, of course, I would like to say or express my thoughts to Catholics in France and the entire world, especially in this Holy Week. And I know what they feel, and I'm with them.
It was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. That is beyond countries. That's beyond anything. That's a part of our growing up. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our lives. That's a truly great cathedral.
There we have it, the President of the United States, the President of France. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Cardinal Dolan on the Notre Dame Cathedral.
It would be difficult, I presume, second.
Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Don't forget Sean Hannity this afternoon. And coming up is Boise, a welcoming city or a sanctuary city. It's funny, thanks to the Statesman picking up on a story that we first brought you, I guess yesterday or the day before, where we, again, went back and forth concerning the Treasure Valley, back and forth concerning the City of Trees. You remember the Boise City Council passed a resolution 2 years ago last January, becoming a welcoming city. And it's funny, Rahm Emanuel, the soon-to-be former mayor of Chicago, called Chicago a welcoming city. And this commits the city to creating a community where all of our residents feel welcomed, safe, and able to fully participate in and contribute to our city's economic and social life. Well, maybe we should talk about those victims of that shooting at the Boise Bench and worry about the Americans here being victimized by criminals as opposed to being politically correct. More on that in a minute. Joining us now as part of our exclusive coverage with Fox News Radio, Fox News in the Treasure Valley on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Live to Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern joins us. Jared, good morning. I'm sorry, Jared. Can we try that one again?
Yeah, we're in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania this morning for last night's coverage of the Bernie Sanders town hall.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I guess the lines at Bethlehem are a little rough, but you're a political guy. This is what you do for a living. First impressions.
Listen, I thought it was a good town hall. I hope it attracts more Democrats to do these types of events, because I think you get an opportunity to hear candidates in a way that you don't always hear them in a soundbite, right? And that's actually seeing the interaction with voters, with people who are asking these questions. And, I think it's a little bit harder to dodge the question of a voter than maybe it is for guys like me when you sort of speak in those sound bites. So, I think for Senator Sanders, this was an important week, not just because of the Fox News town hall, but look at where he has been over the last few days. So we did this town hall here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, obviously the former steel country. In fact, the event was at this place called Steel Stacks, which is this really, really cool events and arts center that is on the grounds of what was Bethlehem Steel before it moved out of here in the mid-1990s. So sort of showing what a revitalized economy can look like in parts of this country. But Bernie Sanders was here. He was in Pittsburgh. He was in Macomb County, Michigan. He was in parts of Wisconsin, Indiana, and Ohio, the Rust Belt, trying to win back a lot of the voters who voted Republican for the very first time when they pulled the lever there for President Trump back in 2016.
Indeed. And Brett Baer last night saying, okay, we've covered the Fox News stuff. Your thought?
Listen, I think that was fun. Listen, I think part of the Sanders strategy here was to play a little bit of the Fox News spoil, and that's fine. It worked certainly for President Trump a few years ago. So, listen, I think that's fine. And I think if you watched the event last night, you saw that this was not a packed Fox News audience per se, right? It wasn't the stereotypical Fox News audience. I have no idea the viewing habits of the people who were in that room, but I know that overwhelmingly they were fans of what they heard from Senator Sanders, particularly when he talked about his Medicare for All proposal.
I don't know how you would define this, Jared, when you take a look at some of these candidates coming on Fox. I think it's great. Yet you have the DNC saying they're not going to let Fox host a debate.
Yeah, listen, I mean, if you recall in 2012, when you had that huge Republican field looking to go against President Obama, do you remember how many debates there were? I mean, I don't. It seemed like there were 3 dozen, right? They were like every single night. And so after that, you saw both parties in 2016 take control of this debate process with sanctioned debates, basically telling candidates, listen, you have to do a sanctioned debate or you could be punished. You could lose delegates or anything else. And you saw, obviously Fox News was the beneficiary of a lot of Republican debates in the last cycle. MSNBC was not. NBC News did not get very many. So listen, this is up to the parties. That's fine. I think that you're seeing Democratic candidates make a broad-based appeal, and there have been other Democrats who have been on Fox News. Certainly, I hope that more of them do these types of town hall events, if not on Fox, then at least on other networks. I think these town hall events are good for candidates. I think they're good for voters because you get to see, again, a candidate explain their policies in a bit more detail than often the 15 to 20-second soundbite will allow.
If Bernie Sanders is anything, he's authentic. I was impressed by his answer about being a millionaire and advice on how to become a millionaire.
Listen, write a book. It's that easy.
Any other takeaway from last night?
Listen, I thought it was interesting how popular, at least with the audience that we saw last night, which again, the Bernie Sanders event, so you're going to have folks who are supportive of his campaign. But Bret Baier asked everybody to raise their hand. He said, how many people here have health insurance through their employer? And nearly every hand went up. And then he said, how many people would be willing to lose that insurance for a Medicare for all? And very few hands went down. That is an issue that I am going to be fascinated to watch now through the duration of the Democratic primary, because the mainstream with that idea. He got a lot of heat from Hillary Clinton and other Democrats that they cover medical costs, even update their home.
All right, we've lost Jared. It's just kind of one of those days. But we have Barb from Sunny Slope with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hopefully, Barb, your phone's working better than the few we've had on this morning. How are you?
I'm doing grand and wonderful. How are you doing?
Living the dream.
That's great. I wanted to comment in on Glenn Beck's comment about Notre Dame Church. Breitbart had an article on there that 12 churches, not just Notre Dame, 12 churches, Catholic churches, in 1 week have been vandalized or burned. They just have not somehow reported that. And over the last...
well, imagine that. I can't believe that anybody
shocking.
would...
I know. Yeah, they would hide that. They have been, it's just been extensive. They've had, 541 anti-Semitic acts, 100, I'll have to say, anti-Muslim acts, and 1,063 anti-Christian acts, counting these churches. So I don't know why we haven't heard that, but I actually have an article here from Breitbart. I could name the churches if I could speak French, but I can't. I'm sure I would kill it. But this Notre Dame thing is, I am convinced, it would be hard to convince me that this was accidental. It really would be. But I can see how we would never find out, because that would really not look good. I don't know what we're going to do about that type of problem that we're facing. Not just the churches burning, but
let's get back to Glenn Beck. Let's get back to what Glenn Beck said. If he's right, how many of us agree with him that will be covered up?
Oh, I 100% agree it'll be covered up. I think, we have 12 churches in a week, and it's covered up already. Never mind Notre Dame, which is a big deal. So, yeah, I think if they find proof, firm proof it is, I don't think we'll hear it. I do not think so. I think it'll be covered over, and they'll say, something happened in France to Notre Dame. I don't know what else we can do. But I just thought I'd put in my 2 cents there.
Your 2 cents is always welcome. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Last night, Channel 7 did a tribute to Brianna Martinez, who was killed in that shootout at the Boise Bench. Let's take a listen.
Sounds like this. were heard in the neighborhood of Lozana Street in Meridian on Monday, leaving some residents shocked.
Sounds like you say bombs, but sounds like shootings, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that is happening here.
It was the sound of tear gas being sent into this home on Lozana Street as SWAT worked to make sure nobody was hiding inside the attic. This came after 5 other people in the home were taken into custody and questioned about a shooting in Boise that left 19-year-old Brianna Martinez dead.
She had a laugh. Bree's laugh will make you laugh.
She was the glue.
Mm-hmm.
She was the glue.
Sequoia and Charlie are friends of Brianna's. One a classmate, the other a coworker. Both remembering their friend and building a memorial for a girl they say loved everyone.
Bree was the kind of friend that you could go to
for anything,
and she would genuinely care. Like, genuinely care.
It didn't matter what was going on in her life. She was there for everybody.
Police, after several 911 calls about gunshots and screaming, officers arrived at a home in Boise near Palouse and Owyhee around midnight, where they found Brianna and 2 other people found shot outside. All 3 were taken to the hospital, but Brianna didn't make it. Now her friends say they just hope she gets to rest in peace and that no more violence happens.
There does not need to be retaliation right now. This is already hard enough as it is, and we don't need any more death or fights or anything.
Bree was a great person, and I hope that everyone lets Bree rest in peace, because that's what Bree deserves.
And there we have it from our friends at Channel 7. So here we have a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 22-year-old charged with murder, accessory to murder. Now, we don't know the details of this, but one thing we do know, thank you, Boise Police Department. Thank you, Meridian Police Department. Thank you, Ada County Sheriffs. Thank you to everyone in law enforcement. And we could ignore this. We could cover this one day and go on, but for years, we've tried to do our very best to let law enforcement, their families, know how much we care for them, love them, and support them, even if it's just you and I talking on the radio. But the Boise Bench, Lozana Street in Meridian, right by Settlers Park, this doesn't fit the pattern. The police having to put tear gas into a house, so they want to make sure that nobody was hiding in the attic. What kind of criminal element has infiltrated our beloved Treasure Valley? And this is where I disagree with the libs. That's why you need to carry a gun. That's why you need to conceal and carry. Not everybody is up to the responsibility of that. But if you have people shooting at you and you have no way of protecting yourself, well, then you're just a victim. And gun confiscation doesn't work. Gun confiscation does not work in this case, does it? Well, we have the criminals. That's why they're criminals. What caused this? Who knows? Thankfully, we have law enforcement to protect us. We need to continue to fund and support law enforcement. Thank goodness Obama is gone. Thank goodness Obama is gone. His war on law enforcement, devastating to this country. Devastating. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is something that shouldn't be happening, but this is something that we're going to have to deal with and continue to deal with here. Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, I have been carrying a concealed weapon every day where I could do so legally, like not the courthouse or the hospital. But anyway, ever since the San Bernardino County massacre, that's where some people did something, right?
Exactly.
And you never know when you're out in public now, or, you're at a school or wherever, some people might do some things, so you have to be careful. I get training, learn how to use it, learn the laws, carry. That's how's that go? A gun is like a parachute. If you need one and don't have one, you'll never need another one.
Well, what do you make of this? Here you have a 19-year-old dead, an 18, a 20, a 22-year-old charged with murder. And we're not talking about Compton here.
And something that I thought was interesting in the comments by some of those people in the Tribute, they were saying let's not have any retaliation. Let's not Gee, that sounds like a gang fight, doesn't it? If you're worried about, payback and retaliation. Yeah, that's what goes on in Chicago.
Well, welcome to Chicago. By the way, we're a welcoming city here.
We are, yeah.
We're welcoming everybody to come in and shoot up the joint.
Turn us into San Francisco or Chicago, yeah. And I would also like to add, I sent Senator Bernie Sanders on his website, the Senate website, I sent him an email and said that I appreciate his idealism as a socialist, from each according to their means to each according to their needs. And now that he has been lucky enough to become a millionaire, because he didn't earn that himself. That was just luck, okay? And I'm needy. I said I would like you to send me a check for $12,327. And I gave him my P.O. box, and I said, just make the check out to me. And I would encourage everybody who's listening to do the same thing, because Bernie is a committed socialist, and I am sure he would like to share his wealth with us needy folks.
Pete from Mountain Home, thank you, brother.
Well, thank you, and I will say that I'm not going to hold my breath till I get the check from Bernie.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, tax day yesterday. How about this? Tax day trauma paying for massive national debt. What is it? 50,219,670 filers paid zero or less. Another headline. Here's something shocking. Divided new Congress is getting little accomplished. More on that in a minute. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, more on your thoughts concerning the safety and security here in the Treasure Valley. And then a very troubling story. Did you hear what happened in Minnesota, where you have a 24-year-old, Emmanuel Deshawn Aranda, who yesterday was officially charged with attempted premeditated first-degree murder. This is the idiot. This is the criminal. This is the whatever you want to call him, charged with throwing a 5-year-old little boy off a third-story mall balcony last week because he was running around looking for someone to kill. This is at the Mall of America. We will discuss that story, get your thoughts on it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Also coming up next hour, the marijuana industry. You remember them. Well, they're getting ready for the big 420 holiday, whatever that means. That'll be on Saturday, so they're looking for record sales. We'll continue to talk a little bit about the marijuana wars, and we really haven't had a chance to review the Idaho legislature. And you're going, snooze, snooze, snooze. Maybe it is, but really, did they accomplish anything? You have Governor Little going on Channel 7 concerning his first 100 days. Was there anything really different from the Little administration than the Otter administration? More on that in a minute. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget KIDOTalkRadio.com. We've got some great newsletters. And don't forget Boise Music Festival, June 22nd. We hope to see you there. A lot going on. Tickets on sale now. Go see Tone and Color Me Bad and Pitbull and Billy and Willie. More coming up. Fox News Now.